Say, do you hear the Shabbos? Are you here this Shabbos?
No, we're doing Friday.
Oh, beautiful. So who's catering us his thing? No, isn't he making us who's at the Shabbos? Yossi Atar.
Oh, he's buying.
He's buying.
Yeah, we made plan before.
That's
decided. So we have limited time.
And Baruch Hashem, you know what?
Babysitting.
It's absolutely right. It's good to see you, Aish. Thank you, Sayyid. What? Am I running that late? I understood it. That's not how it... Believe me, like, it's an incredible thing to hear people say, am I running late at 5:40 in the morning, you know? Like it's Baruch Hashem, what all right. But I accepted the Musar. I said the Musar. I'm kidding, my wife, I'm kidding. All right. All right, Shabbos, say good morning. Let's begin. We are beginning Emirat Hashem Perek Vav. Bebeir Midas Hazrizus. Zrizus. So this one, unlike Zihirus, which sometimes the word itself were a little bit, it required some level of definition, of being aware, of being cognizant, of being introspective. Zrizus is a word that we are quite familiar with. I guess the English word that's often used is alacrity. Right? Alacrity, a zeal. So look, it says it on Cham. Achar hazihirus yovo hazrizus. Now remember again, the midos as they are arranged in Mesilas Yesharim are based on the Talmudic statement of Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair, and of course it is not a haphazard arrangement. Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair's entire approach is that A leads to B leads to C leads to D, so on and so forth. It's a ladder. So remember again, the first step, and now after you learn it makes sense, I understand now why Zihirus is the first step in spiritual growth. It makes sense. Why? Because at the end of the day, if you're not contemplative, introspective, or thinking about the Tov Ha'amiti, the Ra Ha'amiti, then I can't get anywhere in life. Okay, so now that's the first step. Therefore, says Ramchal, after Zihirus comes Zrizus. Ki hazihirus soviv al halosase, v'hazrizus al ha'aseh, v'hainu surmira v'aseh tov. So this is very interesting. Ramchal says, at the end of the day, the primary area where Zihirus helps most is in the realm of avoiding negative actions, which makes sense. Say, as much as Zihirus wasn't just focused on the avoidance of Averos, it was also focused at the end of the day on identifying the Tov Ha'amiti, the ultimate good, and trying to figure out what I need to do to get there. At the end of the day, sometimes the greatest impact of Zihirus is in the avoidance of bad decisions. When I think things through, I'm hopefully able to avoid negative or sometimes chas v'shalom catastrophic decisions. So he explains that Zihirus is more like the sur meira, the avoidance of evil, versus Zrizus, which is the aseh tov, doing good. What does that mean? Vinyono shal Zrizus muvuar, shuakdama lemitzvos v'hashlamas inyarim. As we're going to see, the attribute of Zrizus, of alacrity, of doing things with an eagerness and zeal, is an important introduction. It's a hakdama. It is a prerequisite to the proper performance of mitzvos and to finding completion in many areas. So Kolashon hazeh amru zichron levracha zrizin makdimin lemitzvos. So this is actually quite a beautiful interpretation. So we normally translate that phrase as zrizin makdimin lemitzvos means what? That one who is zoriz is makdim lemitzvos, right? If I have zrizus, then I run to do mitzvahs. Makdim means I go early to do mitzvahs. He understands a little bit differently. He says, Zrizim, the concept of Zrizus, Makdim lemitzvos, is a hakdama, is an important prerequisite. If you possess this midah, your mitzvos will become something fundamentally different. It happens to be a beautiful interpretation of the phrase. We always say that it's a descriptor. What's Zrizim? Makdim lemitzvos, right? Someone who runs to do mitzvahs, is early to mitzvahs. No. Zrizim, the midah of Zrizus, Makdim lemitzvahs, is a hakdama, is an introduction, is a prerequisite to proper mitzvah performance. Let's analyze. V'zeh, ki kemoshe tzarech pikchus gadol, v'ashkaf rabba, lihinatzel mimokshe hayetzer, ulihimalit min hara, shelo yishlog bonolis arib ma'asinu. Just like a person requires incredible wisdom. Person requires incredible wisdom and broad outlook to save oneself, mimokshe hayetzer, from the traps, from the entanglements of the Yetzer Hara, ulihimalit min hara, and to run away from that which is evil, shelo yishlot bo, that it should not go ahead and take hold of me, and to get mixed in with my actions. Kain sarich pikchus gadol v'ashkafa le'echos b'mitzvos v'liskos bahen. We'll say this statement is so profound. Michal says everyone knows that you require incredible wisdom and foresight to be able to avoid ensnarement in sin. Right? That we know. It's easy to get caught up in all kinds of averos all of the time. So I need great wisdom and outlook to avoid that ensnarement. What we sometimes forget is that you also require incredible wisdom and great outlook to grab onto your opportunities and not to lose them. Ki kimoshe mesavev umistabel umishtadal yitzara betachbelusav lahapila sa'adam b'mechmoro sachet. Because same with the Yetzer Hara tries to ensnare a person in the trap of sin, in the net of sin, which we know about. Ki mishtadal limnoa asiyas hamitzvos l'avdei mimenu. You know, the other greatest power of the Yetzer Hara is preventing us from taking our opportunities. Sometimes the greatest accomplishments of the Yetzer Hara is not in causing us to sin, but causing us to fall asleep at the wheel of life and miss our opportunities. Right? So we know. I would venture to say that for most of us, the moments of greatest pain that we have in life are not as a result of the commission of a sin. It's not the result of an avera, because unfortunately we know sin is part and parcel of the human condition. We all make mistakes. We constantly make mistakes. You know, the goal in life, people think that the goal is not to make mistakes. The goal is not to make the same mistakes. That's the goal. That's true, right? I'm going to try not to make this mistake again. Granted, when I stop making this mistake, I'm going to start making that mistake. Okay, zohi hachayim, right? I'm never going to be perfect. I'm just going to try not to do the same bad stuff all of the time. But I would venture to say that for most of us, the moments of greatest pain are not the mistakes that we've made, but rather it's the missed opportunities. Right? All of us look back through life, and there was that decision, there was that moment, there was that thing, there was that opportunity that was there that I just didn't take for whatever the reason may be. And says the Ramchal, the same way that the Yetzer Hara goes ahead and tries to unfortunately entice a person to sin, the Yetzer Hara also entices us to let opportunities slide by. This is so profound. Therefore, if a person is Yisrapa means like has a very loose hold, right? Rafa means loose, or is lazy, and does not actively run after his mitzvos. And by the way, when I say mitzvos means, all right, yes, commandments, but also life opportunities. If you don't run after your life opportunities and grab onto them, Yishar Na'or V'reik Mehem Bevadai. You will be empty. You will be empty from your life opportunities. But we'll say an incredible yisod. Incredible yisod. That we think the greatest power of the Yetzer Hara is to cause us to sin. And meanwhile, says Ramchal, causing us to sin is one small part of what he does. You know what he does even better? causes us to fall asleep at the wheel of life, miss our opportunities, and a lot of times, as we know, once those opportunities go, they do not come back. Therefore, a person has to be strong. A person has to be vigilant. A person has to be willing to run, grab onto the opportunities, and not to let them go. V'tirah, and you'll see, this is incredible, by the way. Ki teva ha'adam kaved ma'od. The teva, the nature of man, is very heavy. What does that mean? Ki afrios chamrios gas. Man is made from matter. So what is the Ramchal saying over here? Al Kain, page Samech Zayin, lo yachbot sa'adam etorach u'melacha. Both say, remember again, even if you only paid attention, or if you paid very little attention in science growing up, there's one thing that hopefully you came out with, is that matter is always at rest. All right, matter is at rest unless it's acted upon. So at the end of the day, I am made from matter. Because I'm made from matter, therefore again, my natural, almost predisposition is to be at rest. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. I'd like to kind of sit. I'd like to relax. I don't really need all that much movement. I'm good where I am right now. This is an incredible yesod, because if a person's not aware of his predispositions or proclivities, it's very difficult to change. So that Ramchal says, just understand, by the way, you're not doing anything wrong if you're lazy, right? You're not doing anything wrong if you're lazy. If you're lazy, what does that mean? That means you're a human being. Laziness is actually the de facto state of a human being. That is a de facto. See, you have to be careful, because we speak about atzlos is a negative midah. How could atzlos be a negative midah if that's like the kind of default setting of a human being? Atzlos is a negative midah when you don't work on it, right? Meaning, if I allow myself to be atzel, that is negative. But recognizing that my natural default state is, yes, I'd like to stay in bed, and I'm talking to the wrong chevra, right? But I'd like to stay in bed, I'd like to relax, I'd like not to have to do that much, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. And I will say, by the way, that's what you'll notice. If you look around in the world, and this is true even if you look around, I would venture to say, in the business world, in workplaces, most people are happy enough to get by with just doing exactly what they have to do. If you push yourself more, you could be more successful. You could have more money. Not everybody's looking for that, because that's not necessarily the natural default state. At the end of the day, says the Ramchal, man's natural state is to be at rest. To be at rest. Therefore, lo yachbot sa'adam etorach u'melacha. Person doesn't want to work. You see, it's maisim b'chol yom. You see people who could be more successful in their ruchnius, more successful in their gashmius, more successful in their relationships, but they don't do the work. Why not? Because they're allowing the natural state of atzlos ultimately again to kick in. This is such a profound piece. Therefore, if someone wants to be successful in his avodas Hashem, sorich sheyiskaber neged tiv'o atzmo. You mamish have to go against your own nature. V'yiskaber v'yisdares. You have to be strong. You have to have zvizus. Shemhu maniach atzmo biyad kveduso v'adayhu shelo yatzliach. Because at the end of the day, if you leave yourself in as a negative trait. In reality, atzlus is the default of people. It's the default. Atzlus is a negative trait when you don't do anything to combat it. But the fact that I possess an inherent atzlus, the fact that really, if left to my own devices, I don't want to do anything, I don't want to move anywhere, I don't want to grow in any way, that's because I'm matter. I'm matter, not I matter, but I am matter. And matter does not move unless it is acted upon. upon. And both say, you know where you see this, by the way? Rahman al-Islam, you see this in the realm of addictions. Right? Ultimately, again, people only get help for things when they have absolutely no choice. It's objectively destroying your life. It's objectively doing, again, everybody suffers from the same dynamic to different degrees. People are reticent to change because change requires movement. I don't like to move because I am matter. When will I move? When I am acted upon. Then and only then. Some people act upon themselves. Some people need external forces or factors to act upon them. Therefore, says Ramchal, if someone wants to be successful in his avodas Hashem, and I would venture to say in life, he has to overcome his teva of laziness. Yiskaber v'yizdaris, be strong, have zrizus, because if you leave yourself in the Aaron, go down in the merit of our Talmud Torah, the Neshama will have an Aliyah, and the family a Nechama. And I will say, with that, let's begin. Says the Mishnah, very, very interesting case today. Harezo Temuras Ola Temuras Shlamim. So also listen to this interesting case. A person goes ahead and has a chulin animal, and next to the chulin animal, he goes ahead and he has an Ola and a Shlamim. And about the chulin animal, he says, let this animal be Temuras Ola, Temuras Shlamim. And also, now obviously, the animal cannot be both. Can't be both. So the shaila is, what do you do with this situation? Hareza Temuras Ola, Divi Rabbi Meir. So we'll say, Rabbi Meir Paskins, the animal is a Temuras Ola. Why is it a Temuras Ola? Rabbi Meir is of the opinion, Tafas, Lashon, Rishon, that in general, again, we go ahead and we take the first lashon. That's Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi says, well, it depends. Imlachin niskavein tchila. So Rabbi Yossi says like this: did the guy really mean to say harei zeh temuras ola temuras shlamim? In other words, maybe he really meant that. If indeed he really meant that, and he really wanted this animal to be both a temuras ola as well as a temuras shlamim, hoilvi avshalikros beishemos ka'achos. But again, remember what I say. So really, ideally, in an ideal world, if this man, what he really wanted to do was to be able to say Harezet Temuras Ola, Harezet Temuras Shlamim simultaneously. He wanted to say both of those statements simultaneously. There's only one problem, which is can't do that. Therefore, what? Hoil vi avshalikros beishemos ka'achos dvarav kayamin. Rabbi Yossi says like this: we look at his intention. If his intention was indeed to make the animal Temuras Ola, Temuras Shlamim, then Einachinami, the animal becomes vested with both Kiddushos. Now, what do you do with such an animal? Look at Rashi, Dvarav Kayamin, V'chatzia Temuras Ola, V'chatzia Temuras Shlamim. So we'll say in Rabbi Yossi's worldview, what we look at over here is as follows. See, we'll say, when someone says, Harezet Temuras Ola, Temuras Shlamim, there are two ways of understanding his statement. Either maybe he just got confused, in which case, and therefore that's how Rabbi Meir seems to understand it. Or the truth is, Rabbi Meir just says, at the end of the day, once you say the first statement, anything that comes subsequent to that is irrelevant. So once you said Harezet Temuras Ola, we're done here. Rabbi Yossi says, well, let's look at what his intention was. If his intention was really to ideally simultaneously make both of these statements, this animal should be a Temuras Ola and a Temuras Shlamim. But a human mouth can't say two things simultaneously, but we understand what his intention was. We indeed make the animal a Temuras Ola and a Temuras Shlamim. Says Rashi, what do you do with such an animal? Dvar of Kayamin. The Chetzi of Temuras Ola, the Chetzi of Temuras Shlamim. Half of the animal will be a Temuras Ola, half of it will be a Temuras Shlamim. Vitira achet istaiv, you allow it to graze until it develops a mum. Viti makar, then you sell it. V'yavi b'demei Chetzi Temuras Ola, u'b'demei Chetzi Temuras Shlamim. So we'll say, according to Rabbi Yossi, if you see that his intention was deemed to make the animal both, you let the animal graze, develop a mum, sell it off, use half of the proceeds to purchase an ola, half of the proceeds to purchase a shlamim. But if at the end of the day, first he said temuras ola, and then he changed his mind to say temuras shlamim, Hare ze Temuras Ola. Then even Rabbi Yossi would agree that Tafas Lashon Rishon, we accept his first statement and it becomes a Temuras Ola. Shabbos say, so essentially what we have over here is as follows. If it's clear that there was confusion or change of mind, everyone agrees that what? That you go after the first Lashon. And when he says, Harezet Temuras Ola, Harezet Temuras Shlamim, the animal will be a Temuras Ola. That's halacha number one. Halacha number two is Rabbi Yossi, or I should say Machlokas, was when Rabbi Yossi himself says, but if it's clear that his intention really was to make it both, Rabbi Yossi is of the opinion you can make it both. What do? Let the animal graze, develop a mum, sell it off, use the proceeds, half to purchase an ola, half to purchase a shlamim. Beautiful. Says the Gemara top of Chavav Amad Am Rabbi Yitzchak Rabbi Yossi, Am Rabbi Yochanan. Hakol modim ba'omer tachal zu va'achakach tachal zu divrei hakol tafas lashon rishon. So we'll say, let's start with what we agree with. In a case where a person says, right, I say, just to frame the case over here, I have two sacrificial animals in front of me, an ola and the shlamim. I have one chulin animal in front of me. So I go ahead and I go over to the chulin animal, I want to do temurah, and I say like this, the lashon is like this, let this animal first be a substitute, or let the kedusha of the ola devalve upon it, and then the kedusha of the shlamim devalve upon it. So I use this lashon, first an ola, then a shlamim. Everyone agrees that what? Tafas lashon rishon. Let's say everyone agrees that halacha l'maisa, of course, in that case, tafas lashon rishon, and therefore the animal is vested with temurah ola sanctity. Next, lo sachol zu ela imkin chal sazu. Let's say, what about the following case? If I say the ola sanctity should only devolve upon the animal, if the shlamim sanctity devolves upon the animal, again, these are all temurah cases, everyone agrees that what? Everyone agrees, kadshi, that halacha l'maisa, again, that works. That works. Since you're making ultimately, again, the ola kedusha dependent on the shlamim, therefore both devolve upon the animal, and apparently we would use Rabbi Yossi's model of allowing the animal to graze, develop a mum, sell it off, use half of the proceeds for ola, half of the proceeds for shlamim. Where do they argue? Lo nechluku ella kegon mishnah senu. Let's say they argue really in the case of our mishnah. What's the case of our mishnah? The amar temuras ola, temuras shlamim. Rabbi said, do you hear the distinction in the lashon over here? You see, in a case where it's clear that a person says this and then that, everyone agrees that the second kedusha does not devolve upon the animal. For the simple reason, once the first kedusha devolves upon the animal, then what? There's no room for any other sacrificial holiness to devolve upon the animal. The question is, what happens if you don't use lashon of this, then that? Instead, remember, our mishnah is what? Temuras ola, temuras shlamim. You're just making a statement. This animal should be a temuras ola, temurah for an ola, temurah for a shlamim. So what do you do in that case? Rabbi Meir savar, Rabbi Meir holds, temuras ola ushlamim. Rabbi Meir says he could have said temuras ola and shlamim. Va'amar temuras ola shlamim. Havile ka'omer tachol zu va'achakach tachol zu. So Rabbi Meir understands that ultimately, again, if he wanted to somehow link the kedushas, he could have said temuras ola ushlamim, but he doesn't do that. Instead, he says temuras ola temuras shlamim. In Rabbi Meir's model, that's the equivalent of saying tachol zu va'achakach tachol zu. First, this kedusha should devolve upon the animal, then this kedusha should devolve upon the animal, which case we just said before, that's what Rabbi was saying. Only the first one devolves upon it, the second one does not. For Rabbi Yossi will say as follows: I amar temuras ola ushlamim. If a person would say temuras ola and shlamim, hava amina kidosha ve'ina kreva. I might have thought that's what? I might have thought that ultimately, again, such an animal has sanctity, but cannot be offered up. Kamash Malan, that's not the case. Kamash Malan, that halacha l'maisa, that even in a case where it says temuras ola, temuras shlamim, ultimately halacha l'maisa, the animal is vested with this dual sanctity, is left to graze, develops a mum, is sold, and halacha l'maisa the proceeds split between Ola and Shlamim. Okay, so we'll say, so what's interesting about this approach in the Gemara over here is that apparently even Rabbi Meir would agree with the case of where he says, what was the lashon over here? Lo tachal zu ela imkin chalsa zu. That if the Ola consecration or the Ola designation should not devolve upon the animal unless the Shlamim one does. Apparently, even Rabbi Meir agrees that halacha l'maisa, such a dual sanctification will devolve upon the animal. So that's an interesting ha'ara in this Gemara. Okay, good. Says the Gemara. So we'll say, so again, just to be clear, looping it back to our Mishnah, we're focusing over here on one fundamental machlokes. A person says, Hare zu temuras ola, temuras shlamim. Rabbi Meir says, halacha l'maisa, it is temuras ola. Tafas lashon rishon. Rabbi Yossi says, it depends. If it's clear that he really wanted to articulate both lashonos, but one person, one human mouth can't say two things at the same time, right? Only the Ribono Shalom could do this. Zachar v'shamar b'dibur echad ne'amru, right? But man can't do it, so but that's what he wanted to do. So therefore, according to Rabbi Yossi, we will in fact vest the animal with both kiddushos, the temurah of an ola, temurah of a shlamim, sell it, let it graze, develop a mum, sell it off, split the proceeds. Good. Temurah Rabbanan. Suppose now the Gemara goes weiter. So Temurah Rabbanan. Ha'omer behema. We'll come to the halacha l'maisa in a little bit, but ha'omer behema zu chetzia temuras ola, the chetzia temuras shlamim. I will say, if a person says this animal, half of it should be a temuras ola, half of it should be a temuras shlamim. So what's the halacha? Now, once again, remember, this case is different than the Mishnah's case. Why? What's being added in over here? The word chetzia. Here, a person is explicitly saying half. So I say half of the animal should be a temuras ola, half of the animal should be a temuras shlamim. So what's the halacha? Kula tikarev ola div Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir holds that the entire animal is considered to be an ola. We'll say, what's the logic upon that? Of that, because Rabbi Meir will hold, once you have part of the animal vested with ola sanctity, it spreads. So therefore, again, that sanctity overtakes the entire animal, leaving no room for any subsequent designation. The Chachamim say, Tira achetistaiv. The Chachamim say, let the animal graze until it develops a mum. Viti maker, then you should sell it. V'yavi b'demei chetzia temuras ola, u'b'demei chetzia temuras shlamim. So we'll say, the Chachamim say that halacha l'maisa, let it graze till it develops a mum. Sell it off. Half of the proceeds go to ola, half of the proceeds go to shlamim. Rabbi Yossi, in lekachnis kavin mitchila. Rabbi Yossi says like this: we try to figure out what were your intentions. If your intentions were to ideally articulate both of these statements simultaneously, but a human being can't do that. V'yaf shalahotzi shnei shemos ka'achos dvarav kayamin. So Rabbi Yossi says like this: if it's clear, if this was your intention, so Rabbi Yossi, again, remember, when someone makes a mistake like this, we just have to ask them, is this what you really meant, or was this a mistake? If it's what you really meant, and ideally you would have liked to have said both of these statements simultaneously, but you cannot, then halacha l'maisa, we look at his words as valid. To which the Gemara says, I don't understand. Rabbi Yossi hainu Rabbanon. Rabbi Yossi and Rabbanon are saying the same thing. Rabbi Yossi is saying the same exact shita. Rabbi Yossi was a bit more articulated it a bit more, or in a bit more, with a bit more clarity, but it's the same shita. They both hold that halacha l'maisa, you could have half temuras ola, half temuras shlamim. The animal set out to graze, develops a mum, sell it off, split the proceeds. To which the Gemara says, you're right. So kul Rabbi Yossi katanila. Ultimately, again, you're right. It's really all the shita of Rabbi Yossi. Just in the beginning, the Brisa called the shita of Rabbi Yossi the Rabbanon, but in Achinami, you're right, it is all the shita of Rabbi Yossi. Good. Another Brisa. Suppose they say machlokes. Tanya idach. Another Brisa. Behema chatzia ola v'chatzia chatos. If you have a behema that is half ola, half chatos, right? Chatzia ola v'chatzia chatos. So kula tikarev ola. And I will say, this is not a Temurah case. This is just a regular case. I have an animal, and I go ahead and I say it should be half ola, half chatos. I'm designating an animal as a carbon, but I make half of it a ola, half of it a chatos. What's the halacha? Kula tikarev ola div Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir says the entire animal is offered up as an olah. What's the logic? Because according to Rabbi Meir, once you declare any one part of it to be an olah, that kedusha is nispashet, right? That kedusha ultimately spreads throughout the animal, and the entire animal is an olah. Rabbi Yossi Omer, Tamus. Rabbi Yossi says ultimately, again, we let the animal die. We let the animal die. Now, this is actually quite interesting. Why is that? Look at Rashi. Tamus, da'af bigmar dvarav adam nitbas v'ihu lo mechuyev chatos hilchach tamus. This is actually quite fascinating. Rabbi Yossi is of the opinion that we don't just say tafas lashon rishon. We don't automatically just accept the first lashon. Rather, what do? We accept all the shonos. Now, watch this. What's happening in this case over here? I'm saying half of the animal should be an olah, half of the animal should be a chatos. Now, I will say in Rabbi Yossi's worldview, we accept both lashonos, first lashon, second lashon. Now, a very important detail in this case, which is, I am designating this animal as half chatos. There's only one problem, which is, I am not chayiv a chatos. What happens if a person designates an animal as a chatos and he's not chayiv for a chatos? This is the equivalent, ultimately, again, of chatas shemesu bailov. This is the equivalent of a chatas whose owners died, or for that matter, whose owners found a tomb with a different animal. And what do you do with that chatas? You let it die. You let it die. Therefore, we'll say, interestingly enough, according to Rabbi Yossi will say that in this case over here, because this animal has half chatas identity, and because I am not chayiv in a chatas, therefore, the animal is left to die. Quite amazing. V'shavin, but they will both agree, both Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Meir, ba'omer chetzia chatas v'chetzia ola shetamus. Rabbi Yossi, they both agree that what? That where I say chetzia chatas and chetzia ola, that it'll die. Right? Why, Rabbi Yossi? Because again, according to Rabbi Meir, it's going to die. Why? Because the first thing I said was chatas. And Rabbi Meir holds tafas lashon rishon, and if I'm not chayiv a chatas, I can't offer it. And if I can't offer it, it's like a chatas whose ownerless chatas is left to die. And of course, Rabbi Yossi will hold that is left to die, because according to Rabbi Yossi, whether you say chatas first or second, it endows the animal with at least some level of partial chatas identity. So the Gemara says, The Gemara says, shavin money. So we'll say ultimately again, when we say that they both agree, who is that coming to include? Rabbi Meir. To which the Gemara says, no, pshita. Or obviously Rabbi Meir. So we'll say, remember again, if Rabbi Meir holds that the animal is going to be left to die, when you say chatas second, he'll certainly agree that it's going to be left to die when? If you say chatas first. To which the Gemara says, not necessarily. Ma'odetema, ilav da'ashmo inon, hava amina, time of Rabbi Meir la mishum tafos lashon rishon. Ela hainu taima chatos meureves kreva va'afilu ki amra chatzia chatos v'hada amra chatzia ola kreva. She will say, I might have thought that maybe according to Rabbi Meir, maybe an animal that has some element of chatas mixed into it, halacha l'maisa should be offered. Kamash will no. Kamash will also that if it has any element of chatas, even if it's not a full chatas, it cannot be offered up. Good. The Gemara says, Kamash l'ndalo. Tanya idach, another brayso. Amar behema zu chetzia ola v'chetzia shlamim. What's another case? I say this animal should be half an ola, half a shlamim. So what's the halacha? Kidosha ve'ina kreva. So we'll say, so again, what's the halacha? The halacha is that it is kaddish, but it's not offered. Right? So in other words, we'll say, essentially what that means is, it's vested with financial sanctity, right? Meaning, in other words, it has kedusha, but it obviously cannot be offered up as a karban. Now we're going to define according to who that is. Ve'oset temurah, and this animal has the ability to affect temurah. U'temurah so kiyotsebo, and the temurah is just like the original animal. To which the Gemara says, money, whose opinion does this reflect? Rabbi Yossi. It's Rabbi Yossi. To which the Gemara says, pshita dikdusha ve'ena kreva. So I'll say, if it's Rabbi Yossi, remember again, if it's Rabbi Yossi, so it's obvious that it's kaddish and it can't be offered up. Remember, it's such according to Rabbi Yossi, because in Rabbi Yossi's model, we accept both lashonos, and halacha l'maisa, the animal is a mixture of sacrificial sanctity. Because of that, halacha l'maisa certainly can't be mixed up. To which the Gemara says, temurasa itztarichle. The truth is, the novelty over here is regarding its temurah animal. So because what do we just say? If you go ahead and you take an animal and you say the original case is not Temurah. I go over to a regular chulin animal, and I say chulin animal. Half of this animal is for olah, half of this animal is for shlamim. So what did the Brisa say? It's sanctified, but it cannot be offered up as a karban. Whose opinion does this reflect? Rabbi Yossi. To which the Gemara says, that's obvious. Why do you have to tell me this? We know Rabbi Yossi Shita, right? Rabbi Yossi holds that Allah Chalamai, so we have to pay attention to both Lashonos, the first one as well as the second one. So what's the Chiddush? To which the Gemara says, the Chiddush is the Temurah. Because what did the Brisa say about the Temurah? If you have an animal and you made it half Olah, half Shlamim, so what did the Brisa say? The Brisa said you can make a Temurah, and the Temurah has the same status as, we call it the original animal. To which the Gemara says, Demau the Tema, Nihidalo Karva, Temurah Satzi Karev. See what I say? I might have thought like this. Even though the original animal cannot be offered up, why? Because it has a mixture of Ola and Shlamim sanctity. I would have thought that maybe the Temurah becomes like a pure breed, like a carbonic pure breed. Maybe the Temurah becomes like one of the two, but not a mixture of both. Kamash Malon, no. Kamash on that halacha lamais, that's not the case. Maishnohi delo karva tahavili kedusha dechuya. We'll say, why is it that the original animal cannot go ahead and be offered up? Because it has literally, again, what we call, bless you, kedusha dechuya. We'll say kedusha dechuya means a compromised kedusha or a set aside kedusha. Temurah sanami mikoach kedusha dechuya kaasya. The Temurah also comes, Rabbi Shmuel say, essentially the Gemara is saying over here, is highlighting a concept that we know, but that is kedai to review, which is the Temurah animal is an extension of the original animal. And just like the nature of the original animal's kedusha is that it cannot be offered up because it is a carbonic mixture, so too the Temurah cannot be offered up as well. Good. Weiter. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, both another very interesting case. Behemoth shel shnei shutva. Listen to this. Reuven and Shimon own an animal jointly. And now what happens? Hikdish chatzia shalo v'chazar v'laka chatzia cheres v'kedisha. Both listen to this interesting case. Reuven is makdish his half. Can Reuven do that? Of course. Of course. And I will say, and I remember again, if you're makdish your half, what are you doing? That's financial sanctity. Right? That's not Kedusha Sakuf, that's financial sanctity. So Reuven is makdish his half, then what does he do? He buys out Shimon from the partnership. Now Reuven owns the other half, and he subsequently makdish the second half. What's the status of the animal? Kedosha ve'ena kreva. So we'll say, Allah Chalamaisa, it's Kaddish, it's holy, but what? Cannot be offered up as a karban. Look at Rashi, last Rashi in the Daf ve'ena kreva. Hoil umetchila, listen to this. Since from the beginning, keshehekdish chatzia lo haisiroya likarev. To lo kachi lechatzia. So we'll say, since when Reuven was makdish, the first 50%, his initial ownership interest. So remember again, what kind of kedusha was that? That ultimately, again, is physical sanctity. Right? Why? Why? Because ultimately, again, when he was makdish his first half, it would not have been possible for him to offer it up. Right? Reuven didn't have the ability to offer it up because he only owned 50% of the animal. The lo kacha lechatzia, v'chivan de lo havi didei lo pashta kedusha bahi shaita bekula, the ein adam makdish tavershin shlos. So we'll say, even if you go with the approach that generally when you're makdish a piece of something, the kedusha spreads throughout the item. That's only when if you own it. If you don't own it, you cannot go ahead and be makdish something that does not belong to you. So when Reuven is makdish 50% of his jointly owned animal, the way that kedusha manifests is in one of financial sanctity. Therefore, even though he goes ahead and he subsequently buys the other 50%, the physical sanctity does not devolve upon the animal. You'll see why in just a moment. So the Gemara says, Vose Temurah, but this animal does have the ability to make a Temurah. Utmurasa Amadeis, Utmurasa Kiyotseba. But ultimately, again, the Temurah animal is just like the original animal, which is a way of saying what Rabbi say, that the Kedusha animal will also possess physical sanctity, financial sanctity, but cannot be offered up as a karban. Shmamina tlas. So the Gemara says, by the way, we learned three very important lessons from this. What are they? Shmamina, Kedushas Damim Nidche. So also what we learn from this ultimately again is that halacha l'maisa, that when something has a financial sanctity, it cannot ultimately, again, graduate to a level of physical sanctity. Take a look at Rashi. Kedushas damim nidcha or madcha. Hamakdish peimul adamim b'shashen ru'ya legufa. If one is makdish an animal with financial sanctity at a time when the animal was not fit for physical sanctity. But say that's this case. Reuven and Shimon own the animal jointly. Reuven can be makdish his part, but he cannot be makdish his part legufa. He can't be makdish with physical sanctity because he doesn't own the animal. So all he could do is endow it with financial sanctity. In that case, kigon hacha dechi akdish alapalga lo akacha aladami umatchile mimizbeach liolam. And I've also what you learn from here is the following: that once something has been endowed with financial sanctity, it is forever precluded from being endowed with financial sanctity. In other words, once you have Kedushas Damim, right? Did I say that wrong? Right? Once you have Kedushas Damim, once you have financial sanctity, you cannot graduate to physical sanctity. Now good, so that's number one. Shmamina kedushas dam nidcha. So I said lesson number one is that halacha l'maisa, once you have physical sanctity, you cannot graduate to financial sanctity. Shmamina ba'alei chayim nidchin. Say number two, what else do we learn? Is that halacha l'maisa, once a particular animal is not fit for sacrificial service, it can never be used for sacrificial service. Now again, that's still an extension of the first lesson as well, which is that halacha l'maisa, once this animal was vested with financial sanctity, that animal itself ultimately again can never graduate to the level of physical sanctity. And I will say again, what that's saying is it's a din. See, the first halacha ultimately again is a din in hegdish. The second halacha is a din in the cheftza of the animal. So that even if that animal is subsequently sold to someone else, once that animal ultimately again could not be used for the mizbeach, it can never be used for the mizbeach. Now, both saying, now the truth is, a lot of these concepts are subject to dispute because it's not necessarily true. You could have a case of ba'alei chayim nidchin, for example, a case of an animal that has a mum, and the mum heals. When the mum, even though when the animal has a mum, it cannot be used for the mizbeach. When the mum heals, it can be used for the mizbeach. So again, these concepts are subject to some level of qualification. Ushmamina dichui meikaro havi dichui. What else do you see from here? That halacha l'maisa, any disqualification that begins at the outset ultimately again remains. Rashi says, Dichui meikara kigonzu shemetchilas ha'akdasha nitchis. Like in this case of Rabbi Yosef, where from the beginning of the consecration process, the animal was nitche, have a dichui. Ultimately again, that disqualification remains forever. Once you start out disqualified, you are forever disqualified. Uplug tihi di'ika l'mandamer nira v'nitche shuve nachozeh v'nira aval dichui meikara lo havi dichui. So we'll say this concept of dichui meikara, if something is set aside for non-use, does it become set aside forever? Is subject to machlokes. So from here, the Gemara is saying, based on this case of the Baalei Chaim owned by Shutfin, we're saying once something is nidche from the beginning, it can never become usable again. So I'll say, so Baruch Hashem, that that's a life machlokes also. Nidche meikara have dichoy or not. So I'll say, if something is set aside for non-use, is it forever set aside for non-use? What a scary thought that the halacha follows. That you could imagine again the ramifications that has for us. At some point in time, every human being is in the status of nidcha, right? Is a status of set aside for non-use, compromised because of ultimately the mistakes that I've made. So Baruch Hashem will say the good news is that in many, many, many cases we do not hold a dichui meikara have dichui, right? Many times, sometimes there is, sometimes again, if you're nidcha, you're nidcha. But Baruch Hashem, many other cases in halacha we hold dichui meikara lo havi dichui. Good. Amar Abaye, Hakol Movdim. Everyone agrees. Heichad Amar Chatzia Ola v'Chatzia Meiser. But we'll say now we're transitioning a little bit. In this case over here, what's happening? You're saying half of the animal should be a Ola, half of the animal should be Meiser. Now we'll say this is talking about over here Meiser Behema. Meiser Behema. Meiser Behema. So we'll say, so remember again, the case of Meiser Behema, of course, is, well, let's read it. So everyone agrees that where he says half of the animal should be an Ola, half of the animal should be Meiser Behema, Divrei Akol, Ola Kreva. We'll say everyone agrees that, listen to this, that the animal is an Ola and that what? It can be offered up. Then I both say, now what's the reason for that? Because saying that something is Meiser doesn't even make sense. Why? Because I will say becoming Meiser Behema is a function of counting off animals, right? So to say that animal is Meiser Behema, I will say that is a nonsensical statement. Therefore, halacha l'maisa, because it's nonsensical, it's essentially as if what? It's never been made, and therefore we just simply look at the animal as an ola animal, right? If you look at Rashi says over here, chatzia ola v'chatzia Meiser divrei kol ola kreva, afilu niskavein mitchila lekach. The lochashiva milsa basrai samidi. The second statement that the animal should be meiser is irrelevant. Why? The Gemara says the ein meiser kadosh ki agav ne'ela derech minyan. Meiser can only be established when counting off animals. V'yeheyu asiri v'adinami amar chatzia ola v'chatzia temurah lochas. Fine. The Gemara goes weiter. Heichal damar chatzia temurah v'chatzia meiser. What happens if a person says half of the animal should be a Temurah, half of the animal should be Meiser? And I remember again, over here in this case, what's happening? It's not like there's another sacrificial animal over here that I'm substituting it for, right? So I'm making a statement, the animal should be half Temurah, half Meiser. What's the status? So the Gemara says, Chatzia Temurah, Chatzia Meiser, Mai. Do we say on one hand, Temurah Kreva, Shekenu Hagis B'chala Kachim? On one hand, can it be offered up as a Temurah, since at the end of the day, what? Since at the end of the day, there is a concept of Temurah by other Karbanos. Al Dilma Maise Kruva, Shekein Maktish Lafanav Achrav. Or maybe we should offer it up as a Meiser Behema, why Rabosai? Because Meiser is pretty powerful. Why is Meiser Behema pretty powerful, Rabosai? Because remember, we stated this case many, many times. Meiser is so powerful, that's what? That even if you call 9, 10, and 11, 10, they're what? They're vested with some level of Meiser Behema holiness. Maybe therefore that's enough to cause this designation to work. Therefore the Gemara says Teku. Gemara will have to leave this Eliyahu Hanavi. So what do you? So I will say. So again, the case that's clear is where you say half of it should be a Ola, half of it should be Meiser. That apparently is clear to everyone that halacha l'maisa the animal is Ola. The Meiser statement is irrelevant. Half Temurah, half Meiser. That's the Teku case. Fine. So I'll say the halacha l'maisa on this. I just want to be careful because normally when I do this, it knocks me out of the recording. So I'll make sure that doesn't happen. Okay. Oh, it just happened. I'll tell you the halacha l'maisa afterwards. All right, we'll have to. So, okay, this is going to be part 2 of the recording. Good take. Well, it says in the Mishnah. So again, I owe you the halacha. I don't know. It must be something on my phone. I'm sorry. It's Rambam. It's Perek Beis. Hilchos Temurah Halacha Dalid. Beis Dalid Temurah. Thank you, Ashi. All right, we'll begin the Mishnah meanwhile. So Hari Zu Tachas Zu. So we'll say this is actually incredible. So in this Mishnah, by the way, what are we getting to? We're getting to the halachos of Temurah. This is great, right? It's Daf Chav Vav Amud Beis, right? And now, by the way, in case you're wondering, how do you make an animal a Temurah? Funny you should ask, right? The Mishnah goes ahead and discusses. And I will say that the truth is, what we're getting into over here is the specific verbiage for making an animal a Temurah. Hare Zu Tachas Zu. Temuras Zu. We'll say here's the halacha. Just you hear it. Ha'omer zu temuras ola ushlamim. Thank you. Dvarav kayamin. So we'll say if a person says as follows. I'm just going back to the last sugya. Person says this animal should be a temuras ola ushlamim. Ola and shlamim. Dvarav kayamin. We pass like Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi passes like Rabbi Yossi, right? And therefore we'll say, what do you do? But how could an animal be a temurah and a shlam? So what do? You go ahead and you sell it off, right, and split the proceeds. V'timacher, let it graze, develop sell it, use half of the money for an ola, half of the money for shlam. So we'll say, very important. So halacha l'maisa, in the Mishnah, when you say temuras ola ushlamim, we paskin like Rabbi Yossi. Amar hareze temuras ola utemuras shlamim. We'll say if a person used the double lashon over here, temuras ola. So remember, if you say ola ushlamim, The truth is, it's not like Rabbi Yossi. Actually, everybody agreed in that case, according to the Gemara. So to Ola and Shlamim, it takes on both qualities. Let it graze, develop a mum, sell it off, split the proceeds. What happens if he says Olas Temurah Temurah Shlamim? So then we ask what his intention was. Im niskavin lekach mitchila dvarav kayamin. So we'll say if that was really his intention for the animal to be vested with both kedushos like Rabbi Yossi, then indeed it works. If the So we'll say salach like this. Under normal circumstances, if you say Temuras Ola Ushlamim, or if you meant to say Temuras Ola U Temuras Shlamim, you want it to be both. If you want it to be both, the halacha is it works. And the Temurah animal is vested with both Ola and Shlamim Kedusha. Let it graze, develop a mum, sell it off, and split the proceeds. If, however, you made a mistake, and at the end of the day you wanted to say, you wanted to say Temuras Ola, but then you made a mistake and you said Temuras Shlamim, halacha l'maisa, we say that what? That it's a Temuras Ola, Tafas Lashon Rishon, right? We look at the first Lashon. Even though what was now, the Chiddush over here is, even if you made your correction, toch kedei dibor. Now remember, again, under normal circumstances, halacha goes ahead and accepts any mistake corrected toch kedei dibor. Right? You pick up your coffee, you say brachat hashal kerelecha motzi lecha min haaretz shakon liebidvaro. Right? You're okay. The Rambam paskins over here that is not the case. In this situation over here, halacha l'maisa, if you meant to say Temuras Ola, right, and then you just made a mistake afterwards, said Temuras Shlamim, even if Temuras Shlamim, bless you, was said Toch Kedei Dibor, Tafas Lashon Rishon. Good, beautiful. So we'll say that's the halacha. Good. Says the Mishnah, Harezu Tachas Zu. So we'll say if a person's, again, remember the case over here is I have a sacrificial animal, I have a chulin animal, I say let the chulin animal be instead of the sacrificial animal. Tachas Zu, under this. Temuras Zu. Or the chulin animal should be a temurah for this. Chalifas zu, an exchange for this. Hare zu temurah. We'll say these are all the shonos of temurah. So tachas, temurah, chalifas. Right? All these are proper shonos of exchange. So the Gemara says, zu mechuleles al zu. But if I say this is mechuleles, mechula, what's the chulin? Deconsecrated. Good. Thank you. If this is deconsecrated, right? Right? Chulin. If this becomes deconsecrated on this, ein zo temurah. So we'll say that's very interesting. That's not a lashon of temurah. Why not? Because we'll say that's actually a lashon of pidyon. That's a lashon of redemption, as we're going to see. It doesn't work for temurah. Ein zo temurah. Vim haya hekdish balmum. But we'll say if lemais, again, the animal that you're discussing over here was a balmum, Yotze lechulin, v'tzarach lasostam. So we'll say that's very interesting. So remember again, the lashon of mechuleles, of deconsecrating, is not a lashon that affects temurah. But if the sacrificial animal is a balmum and cannot be offered up, and you use the lashon of mechuleles on the chulin animal, then in fact the sanctity will be transferred to the chulin animal. Because we'll say, remember again, by a balmum, there's an element of pidyon, right? There is an element of redemption. So therefore, halacha l'maisa, you would redeem ultimately, again, the balmum onto the chulin animal. What the Mishnah just adds in over here is a very important qualification. What happens if the chulin animal is worth less than the current sacrificial animal? You have to make up that difference in the payment to the Beis HaMikdash. So I both say, so therefore, what the Mishnah teaches me is like this. The Lashonos of Tachas, Temurah, Chalifas are all proper Lashonos of Temurah. Mechuleles does not work. Where does Mechuleles work? If ultimately, again, the sacrificial animal was a balmum, in which case it has to be redeemed, Mechuleles is a good Lashon of redemption. Not a Lashon of Temurah, but a good Lashon of redemption. So if you have a balmum animal, and you say this animal should be Mechuleles on this chulin animal, that redemption will work. But if the chulin animal is worth less, beautiful. Lememra de tachas lishna dat fusehu. So you're telling me then that tachas, Rabbosai, is a lashon of atfuse, that ultimately, again, that tachas works for temurah, that tachas affects temurah. Is that true? Or minu, arei zekasha, kadshe bedek habayis. So we'll say when it comes to, remember, Kachei B'Yad HaKabayis refers to items that have financial sanctity. Items that have financial sanctity, Amar Chalifas Zu, Temuras Zu, Lo Amar Klum. We'll say, so remember again, the interesting part about Kachei B'Yad HaKabayis is that what? They can be redeemed for any reason. Or as we'll say, unlike a carbon, right? If you have a sacrificial animal, you can't redeem that animal unless what? Unless it has a mum. Right? You can't do that. Kachei B'Yad HaKabayis are different. If you have something that has financial sanctity and you want to redeem this for that, you absolutely can do that, even if the first item is totally usable, totally fine. So the Bryce over here is saying like this: I have an item that has B'Yad HaKabayis sanctity, financial sanctity, and I say, you know what? Chalifas Zu, Temuras Zu. I say, let this second unconsecrated item be in exchange for the first one, or a Temurah for the first one, Lo Amar Klum. Those statements are meaningless. Why, Rabbi? So why are they meaningless? Why are they meaningless? Because going back to what we learned before, Temurah, the concept of Temurah, does not apply to B'Yad HaKabayis. Temurah only applies to sacrificial items, not to B'Yad HaKabayis items. Therefore, if you use a lashon of Temurah by B'Yad HaKabayis items, your statement is meaningless. However, Zu Mechuleles Al Zu, Devarav Kayamin. But I will say, watch this. If you take an item that is vested with B'Yad HaKabayis sanctity, and you take another chulin item, and you say what? The B'Yad HaKabayis item should be Mechuleles, deconsecrated. Ultimately, again, on this, right? On this, I'm sorry, I skipped. Tachas Zu, Mechuleles Al Zu, Devarav Kayamin. But I will say, if you go and you take a chulin item, and you say this chulin item should be Tachas, the B'Yad HaKabayis item, or this chulin item should be Mechuleles for the B'Yad HaKabayis item, guess what? It works. We'll say, what do you just show over here? You just showed over here that the word Tachas, lashon of Tachas, works for B'Yad HaKabayis. But if you're going to tell me that Tachas, what do we just say? What did the Mishnah say? The Mishnah said Tachas is a lashon of what? Temurah. If Tachas is a lashon of Temurah, Rabbi said, then how could it work for B'Yad HaKabayis? After all, again, the concept of Temurah doesn't apply to B'Yad HaKabayis. And if you want to say that Tachas is a lashon of Temurah, Maishna Reisha u'Maishna Seifa. Ultimately, we'll say, then what is going on over here? If ultimately, again, Tachas works for Temurah, then how could it work for B'Yad HaKabayis? Amar Abaye, Tachas mashkachas la lishna da'atfusei v'lishna da'achule. Abaye says, you're right. At the end of the day, Tachas actually, Rabosa, is the one lashon that has multiple usages. It is a lashon of Temurah, and it is also a lashon of deconsecration. Rabosa, we'll stop over here for today. We'll pick up in Mirat Hashem where we see the lashon working both ways in Mirat Hashem tomorrow. Shkoyah.